In the past few days, an old campaign has been gaining momentum again. That superhero genre campaign that actually brought a studio completely to its knees. #RestoreTheSnyderVerse. Let's see what it was, why it is gaining momentum again, and why it is needed now, and why this campaign actually started in the first place. We will know everything in this video, and we will know one more thing. What the Snyder Cut was, and before the Snyder Cut, what was Zack Snyder's real vision for the DC Extended Universe? Let's find out everything. First of all, let me tell you what #RestoreTheSnyderVerse is, and then we will talk about what Zack Snyder's actual vision was for the Snyderverse. First of all, in 2008, Marvel first started its cinematic universe with Iron Man. After the success of Iron Man, Marvel started its entire cinematic universe, and then with Avengers, they gave their universe a great chance. From there, the success of Avengers was seen, and people appreciated the success of Avengers a lot, and the superhero genre seemed to have reached a new height. After this, WB decided to capitalize on this wave. They went after their superheroes like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and wanted to make a Justice League movie with them. But this time, it wasn't going to be a single or standalone movie. They wanted to create a whole universe. For this, they approached the most trustworthy and most capable person, Christopher Nolan. Now, Nolan did not want to make such a movie again, as Nolan is a very different director. So, he produced this movie, which was going to start the cinematic universe, and for that, he looked for different directors, for which he finalized Zack Snyder. Nolan already liked Zack Snyder's work, and that is why he chose Zack Snyder for this job. The first movie, Man of Steel, started under Zack Snyder's vision. Zack Snyder gave his own new vision to Superman, in which he showed Superman not as a human, but as a god. And this is where the controversy started. Snyder's Man of Steel showed a Superman who was quite dark. Before this, people had never seen such a dark Superman, and that is why people did not like Man of Steel much. Then after that, Zack Snyder made Batman v Superman, which was not actually going to be Batman v Superman. The plans for Batman v Superman were quite different, and Zack Snyder was going to make it as a different movie, which would actually be Justice League. But here, the studios interfered, and Snyder had to actually make BVS. But we all know what happened with Justice League, the one from 2017. Look, there were a lot of ups and downs in Zack Snyder's life, and because the studio wanted more movies and money, meaning they wanted quantity over quality, the person who had directed Avengers movies, Joss Whedon, was called in to direct Zack Snyder's Justice League. After his daughter's tragic death, Joss Whedon had already shown success with Avengers, Age of Ultron. He was called in to reframe the Justice League made by Zack Snyder. Now the thing is that Joss Whedon was brought here only to help Zack Snyder, meaning someone was brought in who could teach Zack Snyder some simplicity and bring some fun. But slowly, Zack Snyder was sidelined, and Joss Whedon took the entire Justice League into his hands, and later he completely rewrote Justice League. But Zack Snyder's Justice League, which we saw in the Snyder Cut after loads of hashtags, was completely different, and what we saw in 2017 was a very bad thing. Well, what were Snyder's plans for the future movies, after Man of Steel, BVS, and then the Justice League movies? Now we will talk about that. But if you want to know what happened to Snyder and the reason behind Snyder actually leaving this entire DC universe, then stay completely tuned in this video. Today, in this video, we completely break down what the actual story of Justice League 2 and Justice League 3 was going to be. First, let me give you some glimpses of Zack Snyder's Justice League. In Zack Snyder's Justice League, we saw Steppenwolf come to Earth, collect mother boxes, and he wanted to bring Darkseid to Earth because the anti-life equation is present on Earth, which is obviously Darkseid's first desire. Darkseid had found out with the help of Steppenwolf that the anti-life equation is on Earth. And after knowing this, he will never sit quietly, and that is why he wants to come to Earth. This is where our Justice League 1 ended, and here we had also seen the Knightmare sequence, which was now going to be continued in the movies. So, for the further story, Darkseid comes to Earth. In Justice League 2, as soon as Darkseid comes to Earth, Superman turns evil, Batman dies, and a very controversial love angle we might have seen, which Warner Brothers obviously got deleted. But now, hold your hearts, because no matter what, whether you are a Snyder fan or not, you will get goosebumps after hearing this story. So, let's deep dive into the Snyderverse that never happened. The story begins with Justice League Part 2. Snyder's plan was that this movie would grow like The Empire Strikes Back, meaning the heroes were going to lose badly. The movie starts with us seeing the heroes busy in their personal struggles. Superman and Lois are reconnecting. Wonder Woman is going back to Themyscira, and Aquaman is facing a lot of problems in Atlantis. But in the background, Lex Luthor is not sitting quietly. You remember that scene where he was talking about creating an Injustice League with Deathstroke? He tries to create the same thing here. And he was going to be joined by Dr. Poison, Black Manta, and Ocean Master. But the most shocking was the Riddler, who was going to be a core member of this team. In Snyder's original plans, Riddler was the one who had solved the anti-life equation. Lex Luthor finds out that the anti-life equation is not a weapon, but a mathematical formula that can destroy the free will of any human or alien and take control of them. A very dark scene was planned where Riddler tells Batman that he has solved the equation, and his mind has become so heavy with this knowledge that he dies in front of Batman. This movie was going to be R-rated. Now comes the turning point of the movie. Darkseid attacks Earth, but this time he does not come alone. He is accompanied by Lex Luthor, who helps him. Lex tells Darkseid that it will be very impossible to defeat Superman unless you break his world, and his world is only one, Lois Lane. Now, because Lex had given Darkseid both the anti-life equation and Superman's weakness, the first person Darkseid kills is Lex Luthor. And then, after finishing Lex, Darkseid directly boom tubes and lands in the Batcave, where Lois and Batman were hiding. Batman had to protect Lois because Superman had gone far away to fight Darkseid. But he did not know that Darkseid would come there to the Batcave behind his back. As soon as he arrives in the Batcave, he throws Batman away, and as soon as he fires his Omega beams here, Lois Lane is completely vaporized. And then Superman arrives there. Superman is completely broken seeing Lois in this condition. And taking advantage of this very mental breakdown, in that weak moment, Darkseid uses the anti-life equation and mind controls Superman, and this is where evil Superman is born, which we saw in Batman vs. Superman and the Knightmare sequence of the Snyder Cut. Superman has now become Darkseid's commander. The end of the Justice League was going to be very painful. A 5-year jump is shown where the whole world is destroyed. Wonder Woman and Aquaman are dead, whom Darkseid himself killed with his own hands. Who was left? Batman and his team had the Flash, who could time travel, Cyborg, Mera, and Deathstroke. And with all of them was the Joker. This is the same Joker that we also saw in the Knightmare timeline, played by Jared Leto. This is the same timeline where Batman uses guns and is forced to work with the Joker. You must have also heard that dialogue where he tells the Joker, "As soon as all this work is finished, I will kill you. But I will not kill you at once. I will kill you slowly." But now we come back to the video and know their plan. Look, Batman's team's plan was simple. They wanted to send Flash back in time to warn Batman. In Snyder's real plan, Green Lantern John Stewart would also come to this future timeline, and his ship would crash on Earth, and he would join the Resistance Force. In this timeline, Superman had become a villain who was hunting and killing everyone. Snyder had described the scene where Superman finds their hideout and catches and kills Mera, the Green Lantern, and even Cyborg. He tears Cyborg in half. Flash was just about to start time traveling when Superman arrives there. Just before Flash disappears into the Speed Force, Batman gives his life and buys time for Flash. This was the ending of Justice League 2, Complete Depression. Now imagine how much more depression there would have been than Infinity War, and this is what our Warner Brothers sacked. But the story is not over yet. There is a huge twist remaining, which was going to be very controversial. In Zack Snyder's original script, it was going to be shown that after Superman's departure, when Superman actually died in Batman vs. Superman, Lois Lane was completely alone, and Lois and Bruce became close, and a romantic relationship was built between them, where Lois got pregnant with Batman's child. But later it was revealed that the child was Clark's. This idea sounds like a soap opera, but thankfully he removed it later. In the revised plan, this romance was removed, and the focus was kept on Lois and Clark. But we come back to the story. Flash time travels, and we all saw the famous sequence of Batman vs. Superman, where Bruce has a dream of Flash, and Flash is telling him that Lois is the key. Save Lois. But this time, Flash reaches the correct timeline. Last time, he reached the wrong time when Bruce did not know anything, but now he reaches the correct time, and Bruce is already alerted. So now we come to the final Justice League 3. Because Flash came from the future and warned Batman, history changes. So this time, as soon as Darkseid comes to the Batcave and is about to kill Lois, Batman does not back down. Batman comes right in front of the Omega Beam, and at the same time, Superman also arrives. Superman sees that Lois is safe, but Batman has sacrificed himself. As soon as he sees that Batman has sacrificed himself to save Lois, Superman gets extremely angry, and he beats Darkseid badly. So much so that Darkseid has to retreat, and he opens a boom tube and runs away. Imagine Superman's rage when he is beating Darkseid like crazy. Now, a final battle was going to be seen, where all the heroes would reunite, and Superman would lead them. Wonder Woman would bring the entire army of Themyscira, the entire army of Amazons, and Aquaman would come with the 7 kingdoms of Atlantis. The Green Lantern Corps would also join this fight from space, and the armies of humans were also there. Everyone together would fight Darkseid's Parademon's army, and here, the battle was going to be on the level of Lord of the Rings. Eventually, it is shown here that everyone together defeats Darkseid very badly and kills him. And here, a very important hero sacrifices his life to kill Darkseid. At the end of the movie, we see that Batman is dead, and he was the real hero of the story. In the epilogue, we are shown the story 20 years later, and Lois Lane and Clark name their son Bruce, and they take Bruce Kent to the Batcave. Now, Snyder's vision here was that Superman and Lois's son would not have Superman's powers because he was not fully Kryptonian. He was half human and half Kryptonian, Zack Snyder's logic. And when Clark and Lois brought him to the Batcave, they tell their son that, "Your Uncle Bruce Wayne wanted you to have this," and they present him with Batman's cowl and suit. And in the end, Superman's son becomes the new Batman. It's poetic, isn't it? Tell me in the comments section. So friends, this was the complete plan, starting from Man of Steel to the birth of a new Batman. No doubt some elements were a little weird, but the scale, the stakes that Snyder had planned, that level was different. Henry Cavill's Superman would see a complete arc. From learning to fly for the first time, to resurrection after death, to almost becoming evil, to finally becoming the leader of humanity. We would see all those things. And Ben Affleck's Batman would have his entire redemption arc. Now you can see for yourself how much depth, how much drama, and how much bloodshed there would have been in this story. And we missed a lot of things here. Now, recently there has been a rumor that the Snyder Cut, the Snyder's real vision, the SnyderVerse, can be restored. Look, WB is currently on the verge of being sold, and many buyers are in line. Now, Netflix, Paramount, along with people from Saudi Arabia, has planned to buy the entire WB, and they want the SnyderVerse to be restored. This is the reason why Snyder is also very active about the Restore the SnyderVerse campaign. According to recent reports, it seems Netflix has come out on top in the bidding war. Zack Snyder has mentioned that if Netflix acquires DC, he is definitely committed to finishing it. Before these developments, people were curious about Snyder's comments, but it seems only he and Netflix were in on what was unfolding behind the scenes. Tell me in the comments section whether you would like to see this SnyderVerse in live action, or would you prefer to see James Gunn's new version? Share your views in the comments section. The video has become quite long. I will meet you in the next video. Until then, thank you very much from Geeky Fanverse.